जागृति यैषस्वप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 पुरुषो निर्विमानः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वतः कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता।
Good morning, everyone. Today we have selected a topic for a gift city, which is gift cities are located here in Ahmedabad. So it was basically planned for the taxation benefit and also to encourage all the companies to have their offshore accounting in the India only. Generally, if we see all the companies, major companies have their offshore accounting done either through Singapore or through Hong Kong. So to discourage and to encourage the income from the India, so the government has introduced the gift cities, and to take this we have our in-house speaker Kinjal Shah and Shah. Now I request Sandeep Shah to please give the introduction of both the speakers.
Thank you, Rohi bhai. And warm welcome to all the members to today's seminar. So Kinjal bhai Shah, there is no need for the introductions. Everybody knows his name, but just to give a formal things, I'll just say that his academic qualification, he is a fellow member of our institute. He is a diploma in the information system audit, NISA from 2003, certified anti-money laundering specialist of ICAI, ranked 8th in the Mumbai University graduations exams of 2000, awarded a Government of India scholarship for the post-graduation from Mumbai University in May 2002. His professional standings are, his very wide professional standings. He has over 24 years experience in the finance and capital market, specializing in the securities laws, information system audit and the forensic investigations. Now this is very dangerous. Member of investigation team for the SEBI, FMC, Stock Exchange, CBI, EOW, Mumbai Police and ED, to be careful. Investigating the financial and capital market fraud, regularly conducting the corporate trainings for the various intermediates including the board of directors of MCX Commodity Exchange on regulatory risk and management of the PMLL. Co-author of the publications ICAI publications on technical guide on the internal audit of the stock brokers and book on the PMLL. Professional in his social activities, he is currently the Vice President of the Bombay Chartered Accountant Societies and the Managing Committee of the member of the BCSE since 2016. Convener of our own board of study circle in 2005, the biggest study circle of the India. Mr. Kinjal Shah has been member of the various committee of the BCSS, CTC, ICAI and the WIRC. Please welcome him. Ravi, please give him a CBF. Our today's second session speaker is also here. Our second session is on the various types of compliances, AIFs, various types in the compliances. It is taken by the Shah. He is also well-known name in the financial market. He is a partner and CFO of the Cornerstone Ventures, a SEBI registered AIF focusing on the investment in a new age technology companies predominantly operating under the SaaS business models. He has over 20 years of experience in the fund structuring and setup, fund administration and accounting, waterfalling modeling, portfolio management, financial modeling, mergers, acquisitions, startup, investment, regulatory compliance, investor relationships, and etc. Prior to his co-founding, Cornerstone was heading the multidisciplinary consulting firm advising startups and the business modeling, management, accounting, corporates, and taxation laws, leading team of over 20 people. They have been a part of the global firms like TMF Group, Citco Fund Services, and part managing and their global subsidiary governance vertical. 20 plus investment process concluded. His expertise is in fund modeling, structuring, business plan review, investor rights and negotiations, and compliance, SEBI, FEMA, tax laws, US compliance, regulatory compliance, tech and FINRA. His recognition, he got a recognition of 40 under 40 best alternate investment professional for the year 2022. Ecosystem and UBEC have served a core group member of various committees of Bombay Chartered Accountants Societies, have served a core group member of a Borivali CPE Study Circle Chartered Accountant in the large study circle in India. Professional is academic qualification is a chartered accountant, is an executive degree of alternate investments from the Harvard Business School and the Bachelor of Commerce from the Mithibai College. Please welcome him. I request everybody to give a moment of. I will now request Kinjal to start the session. Thank you.
Good morning. Ravi, Manish Bhai, Nilesh, Shreyash, the co-speaker, and my dear friends at Borivali Study Circle. Friends, Sandeep Bhai said that you need to be afraid of me because I have worked with a lot of law enforcement agencies. But believe me, my experience has been that they are much more ignorant than what we are. So they respect chartered accountants for the understanding of the financial market, on how chartered accountants are able to understand the financial market is something which is very unique to any financial professional, because we understand accounting, we understand tax, we understand financial markets. So that is where there are a lot of people who respect chartered accountants, and especially when I work with a lot of intermediaries in the capital market, and over a period of time, once I have interacted, there are a lot of senior officers who would always ask, Kinjal bhai, ये बताओ ना stock market में पैसा कैसे बनाएं? So I said, how much you want? So he said, I want 1 crore. I said, you start with 2 crores. Friends, the topic is gift city, but you are going to get only the CPE as gift and nothing other, no other gift as the gift city. But why this topic? And understanding of the gift city, which is a very emerging topic and the only IFSC in India. So while I have prepared presentations which would cover in detail what it is, but I would like to have a free talk on what are the important aspects of gift city and how do you navigate once your client or you yourself also want to render services from gift city. So basically, GIFT, GIFT stands for Gujarat International Finance and Technology City. So that is GIFT City. And what is IFSC, what is SEZ, and then there is another zone which is very unique, which is called a DTA. So we will try and understand all these aspects of the GIFT City first. Because I have seen there are a lot of confusion when people say GIFT City. Even a lot of chartered accountants do not understand what is GIFT City, what services can be rendered from GIFT City, and how do you navigate those challenges. So what is basically a GIFT City? GIFT City was envisioned by the Honorable Prime Minister and then Chief Minister of Gujarat right in 2010, 8 and 10. So what he wanted is that there are a lot of agencies or intermediaries who operate from offshore jurisdictions like Dubai, Singapore and Mauritius. Was one at that point of time because we had DDAA with Mauritius. Welcome Rajkumar ji.
Thank you.
So there were a lot of offshore agencies. They were technically entities who were either controlled, managed, its operations from India, but those entities, as we all know in Mauritius, what is facilitated is what you call as paper offices. And there are law firms who will facilitate opening such offices, and you have to obviously incur some cost on infrastructure, manpower, etc. But you become an offshore entity, and there were benefits which were associated with offshore entities. So Narendra Modi ji thought that why can't we have all those people coming and being on the shore of India, but still being called an offshore entity. So that is how the concept of GIFT City started. So technically we are saying that GIFT City is something which would be considered as offshore for the purpose of FEMA. For all other purposes, technically it is an onshore entity. We will cover in detail what is onshore, what is offshore, and how does it differentiate between a tax entity where it is an onshore entity and a FEMA entity under FEMA, how it becomes an offshore entity and what are the benefits associated. So what happens is, we have such IFSC centers in Dubai, in Singapore, Hong Kong. These are all the hubs of financial markets of Asia. And all these boutique financial firms would come and set up their offices, give a lot of employment, generate a lot of revenue. What we see across in Mumbai, being a financial hub, it contributes to almost 25% of the tax collection of the country, a single city. So that is the power of a financial hub. While government may exempt some of the taxes or give some concessions, but indirectly what it generates is in terms of employment, and being a hub, there are a lot of other associated activities which start getting connected with that city. So that is the entire objective of having a GIFT City. Now the question was why Gujarat? Because Modi ji comes from Gujarat, he was the chief minister at that point of time, that is when it was envisioned. The location is located between Gandhinagar and Gujarat, while the municipal corporation of Gandhinagar regulates it. So it is called GIFT City Gandhinagar. But as such, it is some 15-17 kilometers away from Gandhinagar. Some 20 minutes drive from Ahmedabad airport, and if you drive from Ahmedabad, it takes around 45 minutes to 1 hour. So it lies geographically between Gandhinagar and Ahmedabad. The advantage is that it's a planned city, while Mumbai, as we all encounter, that we may earn good, but the quality of life is an issue. We do not have infrastructure in place in city, we do not have open parks, open places, we do not have good roads. So that is what was envisioned when the city was being planned. And they allocated some 880 acres, approximately 900 acres of land, which would be dedicatedly kept only for the gift city development. So the city can be planned, it has beautiful infrastructure which is in place in terms of waste management and all other such facilities. So let me just show you the geographical area of gift city first. So gift city is basically divided into two geographical parts. One is called the SEZ, like what we have SIPs in Santa Cruz or Andheri. Now it is accessible from Andheri, but the SIPs or SEZ zone. The SEZ zone is predominantly for export of goods or manufacturing of goods for export of goods. So that is the objective of an SEZ. What they thought is that if we want to create a holistic infrastructure and an ecosystem, we cannot be dependent only upon people who come and export from here. We would also need people who want to have good infrastructure in place, have a quality of life, where in Singapore you see that there are a lot of organizations who have a facility where their employees stay so nearby that they walk to office or they cycle down to the office. Right? So that is how it was envisioned as a planned city. And therefore, you see that the yellow zone is a domestic zone, which is called a domestic tariff area. The red part is the gift city, and it is located right on the bank of Sabarmati river. So something like a riverfront is also coming up shortly, the way we see it in Ahmedabad. So it's a beautiful city. Right now it is under development. You will not find much activity if you go late down the evening. But the government is putting in a lot of efforts to ensure that it has a complete ecosystem so that people can go there and have a complete and a holistic quality of life. Now, what is SEZ, IFSC? So, first be clear with this terminologies. People use them interchangeably, but you should be able to understand that each has a different connotation and meaning. So, we will understand what is called gift city. Gift city is a combination of a DTA zone and an SEZ zone or an IFSC zone. So it's basically a smart city which has its own independent authority, is not governed by Gandhinagar Municipal Corporation. It has its own authority who would take care of it, like what we see in some of the GIDCs or MIDCs, the industrial zone, where they have the authority to take care of complete city management and town planning. Then we have a DTA, which is a domestic tariff area. Now, this would have, the focus is that you give a complete infrastructure like residential buildings, offices, schools, hospitals, clubs, everything. And gradually everything is coming up. Right now, there is one school which is Chhatrabhuj Nursi. There are one or two good hotels and clubs, which is the Radisson Club, which is called the Gift City Club. It is beautiful, worth visiting once. The Radisson Club is spread across a large area with the state-of-the-art facilities. So that is what the concept is, that you give a good quality of life to people who come there. Then the red part that we saw in the previous slide, which is called an SEZ. Now SEZ across India are for export of goods. We do not have an SEZ which is for export of services. Now this SEZ has been envisioned as an export of service SEZ. So while it will have an SEZ registration and an authority who will do an SEZ registration, but predominantly there are certain categories of activities which have been classified. If they fall within that classification, there is a unified regulatory structure which is called an IFSCA, and the services that you render from there get you special exemptions or extra benefits. So basically anything which is pertaining to finance technology, or what we call as fintech, or they call it as techfin as well. So this is what is envisioned, because that is what would help us become the financial hub not only of Asia but of a global financial hub. So that is what is IFSC. So you need to understand all these terminologies very clearly when you are planning or trying to understand the concept and what benefits each of this would have, because each of these categories would have different benefits that are being given by the government. So basically, SEZ is any export of services. But when you say IFSC, the certain the facilities that they have set up and which would be encouraged is international banking, insurance, capital market, asset management operations, and now the ancillary services even permit chartered accountants to provide export of their accounting services, which is again getting a lot of tax benefits as well, where you can set up the office and provide service to your international clients from the GIFT City IFSC zone. So the objective is to compete with the like of the centers in Singapore, Dubai, UK, Netherlands, Luxembourg. Dubai, I think, is the nearest and the closest competitor. The other competitors to GIFT City would be Singapore and Hong Kong in the Asia Pacific region. Now, what are the key advantages? Here we are talking about, when I say GIFT City, some of these specific advantages would be either to entities in SEZ or IFSC entities that I will specify at every point of time. So you should be able to understand the differentiating factor between DTA benefits, SEZ benefits, and the benefits available to IFSC units. The biggest advantage here is elimination of the applicability of OM and PE. Now, this concept will be taken in detail by Jugal, who is going to touch upon the tax aspect very in detail for GIFT City. But just to give you an understanding of what happens, say for example, there is a intermediary or a capital market intermediary or a banking entity or an insurance entity who has set up its office in Singapore. Since most of the senior officers, they do not travel all the time, and key decisions are taken from, let's say, Mumbai or in India, the place of permanent establishment of that entity becomes India. And once that becomes, there is an issue with the taxability. So what would happen is that your Singapore entity, the Indian government or the Indian tax authorities would have the right to levy tax for even the Singapore entity, because there is a permanent establishment which is getting established. So these are all the nuances of the international tax. Since you are coming in the GIFT City, which is also governed by the Indian Tax Authority, and the Indian Income Tax Act, which is now 2025, would give you an equivalent benefit. So there is no question of being a P, because you are operating from GIFT City, which is technically a jurisdiction in India, while considered to be an offshore jurisdiction for FEMA, which we will come and address later. Even if it is taxed by the Indian authorities, they have specifically given certain exemptions and deductions under Section 80L. So what happens is that there is no question of you being taxed under OM or because of being a P. So these are the typical advantages that an entity would have. Again, when we talk of this is only when you go offshore. So when you go offshore, and those entities which are now registered in SEZ or IFSC will be getting this benefit. It is not about entities in DTA. Because if you are located in DTA, you are anyway a domestic entity. So if you are a domestic entity, you are anyway taxed in India only. This is one of the biggest advantage which India has been projecting, which is the significant lower operational cost. Now there are two aspects to it. We will talk about both the DTA units and the SEZ or IFSC units. The DTA units would have some advantage because of its proximity to a talent pool which is available, a good infrastructure where people would be happy to go and settle down. Like say for example, compared to Bangalore and Bombay, which do not have adequate infrastructure, if somebody goes and set up a servicing unit from a DTA zone, which is a domestic zone, to render services to their Indian clients, it is not about export of services, it is to render their clients Like you see a lot of technology companies instead of Bangalore, they expand in Hyderabad and Chennai or Gurgaon because they have infrastructure in place. So similarly, GIFT City DTS zone has good infrastructure. There are certain other benefits which the state government is also providing them that we will address, look into later. The benefit is the pricing that we see for, say, the residential property or the commercial property in Mumbai, Bangalore, vis-a-vis GIFT City would be substantially different or lower. Other facilities, like if you want to become a member of a Radisson club, vis-a-vis you becoming a member of a reputed club in Mumbai or Bangalore, the pricing obviously differs. So you get a good quality life at an equivalent price, or the price comes down. Once the price comes down for an employee, he is willing to settle down for a little lower remuneration because he is able to enjoy a good quality life. Now let us understand from an IFSC perspective, because that is more important in terms of cost. If you compare it with Dubai or Singapore, the cost of infrastructure is obviously much lower. I would say if you compare it with Mumbai, it is not lower. It is slightly at par with Mumbai in terms of GIFT City, especially in the IFSC zone. But the benefit of setting up an unit in Singapore or Dubai, vis-a-vis in GIFT City, you get Indian human talent who will be willing to settle down, because for somebody who is from Mumbai, to reach Ahmedabad is not more than 6 hours or 7 hours of traveling. Even if you travel by train, if you travel by flight, it's 45 minutes to 1 hour. So the proximity is the biggest advantage. We have Shreyash who keeps on shuttling between his GIFT City office and Mumbai office. So this is the proximity advantage which the GIFT City has. There are a lot of people who have now started settling down in GIFT City. Vis-a-vis Dubai and Singapore, advantage is the human talent. In terms of, let's say, a professional in accounting and finance field, the cost of living in Dubai versus Singapore versus Gandhinagar would be not comparable in terms of the purchasing power parity. So you get a good talent at a very reasonable rate. So if somebody is planning to set up versus Singapore versus Gandhinagar, obviously in terms of cost, Gandhinagar GIFT City would give him a much competitive advantage. The talent is available easily in India compared to other countries like Singapore and Dubai. Again, the comprehensive tax and regulatory incentives, again this is only for SEZ and GIFT City units, where you get 100% tax exemption for IFSC unit. There are exemptions from stamp duties and various subsidies which are available from the state government as well to promote growth and innovation. Another advantage is multi-currency transactions. There are a lot of, let's say, a chartered accountant who is providing services to a US client or a UK client. The problem for us is that we are not able to maintain a foreign currency account unless we set up that foreign currency account in a foreign jurisdiction. If that same entity sets up its office in GIFT City, they are allowed to maintain a business account in more than 15, in around 15 currencies globally. INR accounts are prohibited because you are an offshore entity under FEMA for a GIFT City. So you get a competitive advantage because the dollar rate or the currency rate keeps on fluctuating. At times you need to, you earn revenue and you need to do certain expenses in the foreign currency. That gives you a competitive advantage if you are located in IFSC. Of late there is a circular from the IFSC authority which allows even the resident Indian to open a foreign currency account in GIFT City SEZ zone. So if there is a bank, let's say you have an ICICI account with ICICI Bank, ICICI Bank also has a unit in GIFT City SEZ. As a resident Indian, instead of opening a bank account somewhere in Hong Kong or Dubai, you can opt to have the same bank with the same bank, which is ICICI Bank or say HDFC Bank, and open an account in GIFT City and maintain foreign currency in that account. Certain other advantages are, under LRS, if you have taken out the money, you have not been able to invest it for a period of say 6 months, you need to bring that money back. But if you have that account of under LRS in GIFT City with a bank which is located in GIFT City, you need not bring that money back to your local currency That is also one of the advantages that has been of late given to resident Indians. I have given you the comparative, which I think we have discussed. Most of the major difference between this is under FEMA. So there I have given you three options. One is somebody setting up a office, let's say in Singapore, Dubai, or any other foreign jurisdiction. A capital market intermediary or a BFSI sector entity setting up its office in GIFT IFSC, and third is setting up in domestic tariff area. Under FEMA, the first two options will give you a status of offshore. Obviously, if you go to Singapore or Dubai, you are an offshore entity. But GIFT City under FEMA would be treated as a GIFT City entity would be treated as an offshore or a non-resident entity. Domestic is something which is equivalent to you setting up office in Mumbai, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, whatever. I mean, so it is. I will not discuss about the last column now. Currency, you generally have to maintain accounts either dollar denominated or in the respective country's currency. Here, the option is available to maintain accounts in 15 currencies. For tax purpose, it is treated as an offshore entity. Here also, for tax purpose, it is treated as an onshore entity, but with a tax holiday. The law which would be applicable to an entity which is set up in a foreign jurisdiction is the local law of that country. Here, you are guided by all other laws which applies to the Union of India would apply even to GIFT City. Like the BNSS, which was the CRPC or CPC earlier, the same laws would apply. So all other law would apply as it is, so you need not study the separate law and understand those law and identify those consultants who will help you to comply with those law. So you are still in India and are easily able to manage all other regulations. Regulators, again, if you go to a foreign jurisdiction, you will have to get multiple permissions if you are especially, I mean, unless you are in DIFC, which is a replica or similar to GIFT City, Gujarat, where you have a unified regulator, but otherwise you would have different regulators, while what we understand even in the domestic jurisdiction, if I have to set up a company, I go to different entities. If I want to set up an SEZ, then I go to an SEZ entity, I go to GST entity, I go to income tax entity for PAN. So there are multiple entities with whom I have to deal, or regulators. Here they have set up a unified regulator. So what is a unified regulator? IFSC, multi-service SEZ would predominantly have entities which are into business of asset management or fund management, banking, capital market, insurance. Aircraft and ship leasing is one of the recent area where a lot of promotions have been done by the government. Lot of aircraft and leasing companies, ship leasing companies are setting up offices in GIFT City because of the advantage. Fintech companies, finance companies, and ancillary services. Chartered accountant services fall under ancillary services. Now they have also classified it to be a separate accounting service where you can get your registration if you are intending to do export of service. So IFSC is a unified regulator for the specified businesses that we saw in the previous slide, which is like capital market, banking. Here what would happen is, if you are in a domestic zone, you have two entities. One is say NBFC, you go and register with RBI. If you are setting up a stockbroking entity or a portfolio management entity, you go and register with SEBI. So you keep on struggling and juggling between multiple regulators, and at times they have conflicting views. So here what they have done is, they have taken officers from past services from RBI, SEBI, IRDA, and PFRDA, created a unified regulator. They have now been given the powers of registering entity under SEZ under a single window system. So even the SEZ authorities are no longer there, except, which has been merged into IFSC. So this unified body will give you all the registrations that are required from start to end to start your operations in GIFT City. So it becomes a single window clearance kind of a scheme, where if you are going to GIFT IFSC, which is SEZ, you have to deal with only one regulator, which is called the IFSCA. I will not deal in detail with the benefits, but just to give you an understanding before I wind up in next 10 minutes. So a stockbroker who has set up its office in DTA, here I am coming back now to DTA, I am not on the SEZ part. So on the domestic zone, If there is a stockbroker who has shifted his registered office from anywhere, or he has set up a new office in the DTA zone of GIFT City, he will be entitled to a stamp duty waiver or a refund for his prop trades. And we see that there are a lot of stockbrokers who are highly and predominantly into proprietary tradings because they have certain strategies or what they call as algo strategies. They have huge volumes and operate with wafer thin margins. In such cases, it is advisable that they go and set up offices in GIFT City. In GIFT City, there is a building which is like a stock exchange, which is called the BSE Broker Forum building, because it was promoted by BSE Broker Forum. It is not owned by BSE Broker Forum. So there are a lot of brokers you will find who have now started shifting offices from anywhere across India to GIFT City DTA because of the stamp duty waiver. Employment generation incentive is given by the state government. These are again not flat deductions or incentives. You need to fulfill certain benchmarks and conditions, but just to give you an understanding that they will give you 50% of the 1 month's CTC subject to INR 50,000 for a male and 60,000 for a female employee. Interest incentive, where you get an interest subsidy at 7% on term loans with a ceiling of 1 crore up to 5 years. The EPF that you pay on behalf of your employees is also reimbursed to you, 100% for female employees, 75% for male employees. Then there are electricity duty incentives which are given just to promote the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure, because they want a lot of IT companies to come in. So electricity duty incentives. Monthly rental supports for co-working IT offices, which is 50% of the monthly rentals for first 2 years and 25% for 3 to 5 years. So again, lot of global capacity centers, what we call, which are located in Hyderabad and Gurgaon, are shifting base to GIFT City Gandhinagar. I think the Bank of America has a 2,000 seater space. Bank of Baroda has some 1,000 seater space. SBI recently started with some 1,000 seater space. So these are all global capacity centers, or the centers which are facing the domestic consumers. They are shifting base to GIFT City. Again, there are other incentives which are also provided for skill upgradation, data centers, cable landing stations, R&D centers, and IT township development. So broadly, the incentives are in the form of for capex that a company makes, as well as for opex. There are certain limits. I am not going into those limits. Again, there are just to have a good infrastructure in terms of data, I would say the data racks, which have been the server racks, which are available at a cost-effective cost. They have also given concessions for cloud rentals if you are availing cloud rentals from GIFT City offices. Even the patent, if you have some processes which are to be patented, if you are applying for patent, they would give you some subsidy to ensure that you reduce the cost by operating from GIFT City. So broadly, the incentives would be capex incentives, opex incentives, employee incentives, which we discussed, EPF reimbursement, electricity duty waivers, skill development support, and patent and innovation incentives. The sectors that should be looking at while setting up offices in DTA would be predominantly information technology or ITES, global capacity centers, social infrastructures, and stockbrokers. Benefits that are available in the GIFT City, which is the SEZ zone or the IFSC zone. The first and the biggest advantage is 100% deduction from your gross total income for any 10 consecutive years out of a block of 15 years. So for next, initially, why they have given this window is because initial setup you do not incur, you do not have much revenue or profits. So they have said that once you start earning reasonable profit, you apply for that, you start availing that exemption, and then for a period of 10 years. So technically, generally people are able to get this benefit for a period of anywhere between 12 years to 15 years. Concessional corporate tax rate. Generally the corporate tax rate is reduced to 25% and something only if you agree to let go of the benefits or deductions under Chapter 6A and other deductions. But here
while availing deductions under Chapter 6A, which is under 80 LA, you still have a concessional rate of 25%. Even if you need to pay a MAT, for IFSC registered entities, the MAT would be not 18%, but just 9%. Non-residents would also have exemption in terms of its interest income. So if you have set up a banking unit in Gift City, and there are non-residents who have come and placed deposits in that SBU or a banking unit, the interest that they earn from there would become tax exempt. Dividend rate again is beneficial because the tax rate is 10% that applies to dividend vis-a-vis the domestic zone. Withholding tax, there is an exemption. There is no withholding tax that is applicable to investors and IFSC units that are under 80 LA benefits. Capital gain, again 12% and 20% is available to investors in Gift City IFSC. And non-resident trading specified securities in foreign currency denominated bonds on the regulated stock exchange in IFSC are entirely exempt from capital gain tax. So let's say for example, somebody who is a resident, a non-resident of India, stays in US, he goes and trades on a stock exchange which are predominantly called BSE and NSE. They are called India INX and NSE IX. And he trades on the securities which are traded on those stock exchanges. The income that a non-resident which he earns from those regulated stock exchanges would be completely exempt. I think we have already covered most of this, the fiscal benefits. Tax neutral relocation. If somebody plans to relocate, say for example, from Singapore to Gift City, there are certain benefits which are given to promote relocation. Category 1 and 2 AIFs in Gift City are granted pass-through status, just like the income tax law in India. Income tax return and PAN exemption is also given to investors, non-resident investors who invest in category 1 and 2 Gift City IFSC entities. There are exemptions for certain funds of specified securities or securities issued by non-residents to the extent attributable to non-resident unit holders. And elimination of PE and POEM, the next speaker would obviously deal with this in detail. There are also exemptions with respect to GST, as we see in any SEZ. The GST exemptions are available, you have to apply. And similarly, those exemptions which in terms of customs, central excise, there are drawback and deemed export benefits which are available. Central sales tax exemptions is available, stamp duty exemption is available. Commodity transaction tax, if you trade on any commodities listed on a stock exchange, which is like say the bullion exchange of Gift City, then there is no CTT when you trade on those exchanges. Electricity duty and registration fees are also available under concessional rate. There are certain exemptions which are also available to companies which are incorporated under the Indian Companies Act 2013, but they have their registered office in the IFSC zone. If that is the case, because what happens is these are all foreign entities and they may not be able to hold their directors, the board meeting at their place of registered office. Similarly, rotation of auditor also does not apply to entities which are registered in IFSC. So there are some exemptions which are available under the Companies Act. The foreign exchange treatment, under the FEMA law, these entities would be treated as an offshore unit, and therefore what happens is whatever remittance you want to make under OI, which is overseas investment schemes, are available, and with very limited regulatory compliances or restrictions that otherwise would apply to you as an entity located in domestic zone, domestic jurisdiction, trying to set up offices somewhere in Singapore or Dubai or UK. Again, more related to FEMA and tax, I will not deal into this. So, which are the sectors which benefit by setting up offices in IFSC zone? Predominantly, it is fund management entities, which are like your mutual funds or portfolio management services or AIFs. Then capital market intermediaries like stock exchange, clearing corporation, depositories, brokers, investment bankers, custodians, clearing members. These are all the entities which come under capital market. Direct listing is one such thing which is picking up predominantly in Gift City. There are a lot of debt securities which are already listed. The equity listing is in the process. We will soon see some equity listing as well on the GIFT City stock exchanges. Insurance, international banking units, which are called IBUs, the fintech and techfin companies, because there are a lot of technology companies who render their services as export of services. If they go and set up their offices there, they have a lot of concessions which are given. Aircraft and ship leasing financing. I think the biggest traction of late in last 2 years in GIFT City, the number of entities which have been registered are either under the fund management entity where the AIFs or PMS are set up, and under the aircraft leasing and shipping leasing. Now they have come up, earlier bookkeeping accounting was under a separate service, clubbed under ancillary service. Now they have created a separate category, which is bookkeeping, accounting, taxation and financial crime compliance, which is called a BATF service. So this is something which is predominantly for chartered accountants of their interest, where they render export of services to their international clients. Global in-house centers or global capacity centers as we call it. This is of late has been taking up largely, where there are a lot of multinationals who render their global group companies for accounting and all other services. Like what we see, the JP Morgan has an entire building somewhere near Goregaon. So those kind of setups are now coming up in GIFT City to render services to their global counterparts. Foreign universities, this is something also very unique, because under the UGC Act, no foreign university can come and set up their universities or campuses in India. But GIFT City being considered to be an offshore unit of India, those foreign universities are now coming up. So we have 1 or 2 universities from Australia and other locations who have started operating from GIFT City. So if you want your children not to go abroad but to study in GIFT City, they would be in proximity to you, and at the same time they will get the same quality of education which otherwise they would have got internationally. Ancillary services includes legal, compliance, secretarial, auditing, professional and management consultancy, administration, support and trusteeship services. Again, I will tell you that this is the only SEZ in India which allows export of, not only export of service, but recognizes legal and accounting services as one of the area which could be considered under export of service. And therefore it is promoted for chartered accountants and lawyers who are setting up their offices in GIFT City. Bullion exchange has done wonders because of the differential tariff in terms of customs exemptions, the excise exemptions that they enjoy. They have done the turnover which was equivalent to Indian stock exchanges in the GIFT City, and there are a lot of concessions even for Indian jewelers who are now setting up offices in GIFT City just to ensure that they are able to access gold and silver at a concessional rate from this bullion exchange under the forward delivery. Friends, thank you for a patient listening, and I thank Borivali Central CPE Study Circle for giving me this opportunity to share my views on GIFT City. I think we will take up the Q&A after the Shreyash Bhai's session, and I will be available for the Q&A as the convener suggests. Thank you.
We will take question and answer after the Shreyan's session. And now I request friends to please take the.
Good morning, friends. Thank you, BCSA Study Circle, Ravi, Shreyans on Dais, Nilesh Bhai, other colleagues, Manish Bhai, Pratik,